Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for this past 3 hours. It is hard to believe we have now arrived at our open mic, heading into our 4th hour. We didn't know we were creating a marathon, but clearly we created a marathon Poetry Pride Parade, and you all have made it happen from your incredible places of humanity. And I am humbled and honored to have been witness to every single one of your voices and the voices of others that you've uplifted into the space. And I want to give a shout out to our friends in the open mic who have been really patient as we went a little over in our final hour. And I hope you feel as I do that it's well worth the journey and the time. No, the clock is just a mechanical thing. Time is not really what we perceive it to be. Well, gives me my great pleasure as the Grand Marshal for today, who honestly is a little delirious by so many things, to introduce my wonderful open mic brother from Newcastle, Andy Talbot, who's going to be taking over the MC call for the next part of our program, our last hour of the parade. And Andy Talbot is a writer and performance poet, as I said, from Newcastle. His second chapbook, Old Wounds, New Skin, will be released this summer, 2020, because your first one just sold out, Andy, and I didn't even get to get it. Oh my gosh. Old Wounds, New Skin will be released in summer 2020 through Analog Submissions Press. The link to the press is in the bios. Andy has poems featured in various publications such as Paper and Ink Zine, number 15, the Grilla Genesis Press, and Back Patio Press. Take it away, Andy, and I'm really looking forward to the open mic.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Can you hear me okay? Just sweet. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm still coming back from that last poem that we heard. I thought that was absolutely incredible. That blew me away. I loved how raw it was. I could listen to that on repeat. That was, yeah. I need more of that. Okay, yeah. So I'm Andy. I am absolutely honoured to be here to host an open mic at the end of the Cultivating Voices Pride Parade. I've been looking forward to this all week. So we have quite a lot of people here, so I'm just going to get on with it. I don't think I've got control of the Zoom, so I'm going to be saying voices out, and then if we could, I think, spotlight the video, that would be cool. So up first, we're going to have someone who means a lot to me. I've only known them a short while since this COVID-related lockdown came into play. But yeah, I really appreciate them being, I'm the co-host now, awesome. I really appreciate them being a part of my life. So we are going to hear one poem from this person, and then I will follow up with a poem of my own, and I'll explain why after. This is Ken Cumberledge.
Hello, folks. I'm speaking from Norwich, UK. Within the last week, Andy and I discovered that quite independent of each other at different times, we had written a pair of poems which fit together like the two halves of a diptych. And so we decided to sort of perform them as a double act. So I'm going to start off with my poem, which is called Contactless. And the poem for me is about after 4 years of grief, after my partner died, coming to that point where I was beginning to realize I was finding people attractive again. And I was having attractions for wholly inappropriate people. You know, it was like rabbit in the headlights crushes on somebody who works in a fast food joint. And I'm 62 and he isn't. So here we go. This is called Contactless. You shouldn't, but you're walking into Subway. It's a festival of carbs you know you're going to regret. And those gloves may be hygienic, but they're single use and they must get through hundreds in a day. But still, it's cheap and hassle-free. And right now, you're just not cut out for complications. Not now you've seen him, the new boy behind the counter. The reason you're at this branch for the 8th time in 2 weeks, the reason you're at this branch, not the one in the arcade, in spite of that one being down the hill, not half so busy and a great deal more convenient for the bus. The reason you've hung back, let someone else get served before you, made it certain you and he will synchronize. It's the eyes. Of course, it's always been the eyes with you, and his are proper drowners. Not that he lets you get to see them much, keeps them downcast mostly, busy, focused on the job. Well, fair enough, you think. That knife is sharp. Nearly as sharp as your own shame at what a cliche you've become. What is he? 19? 20 at a push? Dear God, you're tragic. When will you grow up? And now it's your turn, and you're praying maybe this time you won't stammer like you've done 3 times already, when he halts, shy half smile, the one like sunlight just broke through a cloud. Don't tell me, let me guess. The usual? Oh my God, he knows you've got a usual. Checklists, the ingredients to be certain. No mistakes. You watch his hands, bedazzled as he busies with the salads, deft and dexterous like a close-up magic trick. The gloves come off. You notice that his nail varnish is new. Imagine an alternative reality in which you comment casually on this, the light, inconsequential conversation that might feasibly ensue. But now he's through, he's done with you, already busy with the next one in the queue. Tapped in, checked out, pocketing your card. You call out thanks. He glances up. He smiles. And you head out to the waiting day, glad, just for the now, to be hungry, to be here, to be alive. Thank you.
This is Slouch. Could it be the eyes? Some newly discovered shade of blue, they are piercing me, and finally I feel seen. I stumble through my order, my tongue tripping over every single syllable, and I'm not quite sure it's got anything to do with the fact I've been day drinking rum like it's going out of style. Could it be the nails? Painted on in public, between tending to the pumps and pouring pints for the parched patrons. I envy them. It's such a power move, and they need to know I feel this way. If you'll allow me to get slightly off topic, the music in here is always memorable. It's the only reason I have Shazam downloaded on my phone, and until tonight, it's the only reason I come here. Block Party, Manson, Hendrix, The Doors, the list goes on. I don't know, maybe it was the company, maybe it was the alcohol, maybe it was my mood, or maybe I was just feeling it. But the music in this place always does something to me. Between every round, I would talk my friend's ear off about it, about the music, about those nails, about that smile, until eventually I find the courage, likely Dutch, but courage nonetheless. And I find my feet, and I find myself at the bar, and I find myself finally finally telling him and the weight lifts. We slip into casual conversation and the night rolls on. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. So yeah, I've known Ken a little while, and through a mutual friend of ours, after hearing this poem that I just performed there, she mentioned about Ken's poem, and we got in touch, and yeah, we decided to perform those two poems back to back tonight. It's quite comforting.
Strange thing is, of
Sorry,
course,
Ken.
no, so I was just going to say that the weird thing is, I imagine it's the same for many of us in the poetry community, is that Andy and I would probably have never met if it hadn't been for lockdown and Zoom.
Yeah.
Well, suddenly our little rooms have blown open and we're sharing our poetry with people from all over the world, and it's just glorious, making new friends every day.
Absolutely. Yeah, so like that poem that I wrote, it is based on, like, just to give a quick little story about it. It's based on a night out in Glasgow that I had last year, with a very good friend of mine who was extremely supportive about my sexuality. And it's only recently that I felt comfortable writing about that. So to hear a story from someone else, like Ken's poem, it's comforting to know that other people go through these kind of moments, and that you're not alone. So yeah, it's really helped me sort of become a little bit more public the last couple of weeks about who I actually am, which can't be a bad thing. So yeah, enough about me. I'm Andy, I'm your host. So we're going to crack on. Next up, we have Miriam. I'm just going to jump in and spotlight the video. There we go.
Okay, I guess I should start talking.
Yeah, you're on.
Okay.
You're on.
Okay. All right. Thanks. I'm going to read. And by the way, thanks, Sandra, Sandy, Sly. I'm not sure. You go by Sly, Sandy, or Sandy? Sly. Okay. Whatever. Anyway, I'm going to read two poems. Each one was stitched together out of fragments like quilts. And I'm reading the first one in honor of Vicky now. It's called Borderline. Let me just get it. Borderline. I enter into you like a rodeo cowgirl who bucks but never falls, where they ride motorcycles without helmets, the whole sky layered with blue, white, gray colors. If I could only expand past the cover, there to find happiness even without a mother, entering into you like the visitation of a butterfly, delicate motion of wings with unusual patterns. Though I have seen the dead rat carcass, though unspeakable, nevertheless on the other side, surely there is the other side, a tenderness of touch and vision. Swimming in some Caribbean sea, facing the barracuda poised just under the surface, snorkeling. I reach for your hand in a panic. You push me away because trouble is each to one's own. Here in this moment today, the crows call. You enter my thoughts from all sides, like the constant subtle layering of air, breeze, storm, calm, steady, sailing. Yesterday, your vision penetrated the walls. It wasn't an emergency. There were no vehicles. The woman in the small red car wasn't driven over a cliff, and the lake below didn't receive her. It wasn't like that at all. Divers, sheriffs, firemen played no part. Farmers slept at last for a few hours. Clerks listened only to silence in their rooms. The homeless, the stricken, the dying find this moment. This moment, suffering stops and pleasure begins. The forests give, the oceans take. Your sky and my sky reach the borderline between us. And the second one is another one of these quilt type poems that I put together. Here it is. It's called A Political Poem with Emotional Parts, and it's in 10 parts. 1. When is the last ferry leaving for the island? Take me there now. I need to get away. I need to see again how to live naked and shy. You wait for me there. I can almost see you, swaying in the hammock with important papers. Where is my cool drink? Where is my palm tree? I would like to see your large white hat in the breeze, swaying in the hammock with important papers. Steady and salty, the ocean rocks us to sleep. Where the glass frost melts and shivering ceases, a warm glance, hot sand, juicy citrus fruits, the past and the future snowballing in bed. 2. It visits me with tantalizing tone, making a rainbow of my tears and sighs, then leaving, disconnects the telephone. I'm dreaming backwards through our history to hold the sound inside with silken ties and piece together notes with memory. How could she leave me like this, lonely, now? Except there isn't anywhere to go, in air I breathe, in everything she might have said. 3. I love the way you love with all your heart, so that I feel it half a world apart, a world and then another world, until the multiplying spaces crash my sill and blow the curtains down. A fragmentary intrusion, like the weight of being merry the night my reason dies. I'd like to reach another shore and walk along the beach, if only all the waves weren't crashing down, dragging me deeper under. Another town, another place to put my bed and table, for you to love me more, but I'm unable. 4. I wonder if life is only winter, spring only a dream. If life is only winter, how can I thrum a dream into lily and leaf? 5. Stress may trounce you, trouble pursue you, weakness trick you, true. But darling, I stand here waiting, failings fleeing, feelings inflowing, flowers thriving in dozens, hundreds, millions. Kisses of snowdrops crop up, baby polka dots in dull flooded meadows, sensing yes again, as the sunlight mythos frees you from winter. 6. I confess, I want to be with you in every possible way. You have filled my mind with wild apple trees. You have often wandered through my meadows. You have released the mourning doves to the sky. You have picked a wild red apple. 7. Daisy days of June, my pale purple flower. Fill the fields with grasses and green excitement. See the sunlight, serious beams of sunlight, sycamores tower. Yellow-petaled Susans grow wilder and wilder. Close your eyes, come closer and closer, kiss me. Daisy days of June, my pale purple flower. Rainstorms are over. 8. How they carpet the marshy part of a yard, lit from inside like a green planet, sprung from the cold, cold winter ground. When the spring rain runs dry on Monday, I'll go look at the blue violets blooming open under the hot new spring sun. Would you put your boots on in my house and walk in the yard with me one day? See the lake and the great blue herons, but mostly the wild blue violets in the spring, the fresh earthy scent of them around us. 9. I see you in person, a flame, and I become a flame, a flower, and I become a flower. Your voice arriving inside me like a memory or a dream. I become your flowing sentences, your breath in my ear, a soft pulsing, your dear eyes attentive to me, your ankles navy, your breast crimson, close to the violet autumn sky. You are the golden afternoon. 10. And yellow-brown leaves fallen on the ground, the mellow air breathable, and here we go. Lesbian, 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 lesbian. Amelia of watery eyes and clouds, an island word, an ancient word, a lovely word, a condition without a home in high culture. You may prefer another word or hate lesbian. I prefer to make a bold, simple statement. You may feel shadowed by the unserious. You may wish to be quiet and invisible. My female parts love her female parts. This is a political poem with emotional parts. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. That was absolutely gorgeous. I love that. Okay, so we're going to move on now to, let me just find them and spotlight the video. It's Ara Morgensen. And
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. All right. So the first one I am going to read today, I'm going to give a content warning for grief and a lot of mentions of blood and death. This is called To Grieve. To know what's to come is to grieve his death. Growth of the tumor mirrored my growth, a growth rooted in grief. I knew he was to die, but when it happened, I felt nothing. For I'd felt all the things I could have felt until then. I saw the worst, I cried the worst, only when no one saw. The blood of dying, red sprout spraying, staining my memories. It wasn't your fault, they lied to me. I hate to say it, I've grown from your red, dreadful death. I know people deceive, which is why I know I'll never believe, never again, not in people. Of all the white lies, most of them they told me were red. I found this and I grew. I grew and I grew, sprouting out of these new flowers of red, the bitter, dark red of my bleeding heart. Spilling from new sprouts, mirroring the spray of your red, dreadful death, the image mirrored forever in my brain and heart. I died that dreadful night. I died every day before, knowing it would come, knowing the red would sprout, sprouting from him, sprouting from my mind, a simultaneous growth, a dangerous red growth. Bursting violently from mouth and mind, two growths mirrored in us to destroy us. Growths growing, giving grief to tired, sorry souls doomed to die. You in body, me in mind, a death for a death. To grieve a death is to die in self. And this next one is really short. I wrote this one in response to someone cutting me out of their life, saying I was toxic, or how angry I am. Which, if you don't know me, I feel a lot of anger and I don't hide it, and I don't think I should. This is called Night. You point and say, I'm no white knight, and use that fact to justify cutting me out of your life. But I never wanted to be. I never thought I was. For a white knight is cis-het and caught up in the patriarchal lie that woman needs saving. I don't know about you, but a powerful woman is a sight I behold in awe. Who says a people protector can't be angry? Why can't I be a red knight? I'd rather punch a Nazi than be complicit while you advocate for pacifism in response to the sexual predator you harbor. At the very least, wild prey runs away rather than invites the monster into its den. The most successful prey bites back. You call me toxic, but prey produces foul toxins to keep predators away. Why shouldn't a red knight hold their own poison flask for the species of human that attacks our own, my own, your own? Don't you get it? You can't use peaceful methods to protect against monsters. Okay, and then there is one more that I would like to read. I wrote this one for my partner. So this is called Ocean. There is nothing I love more than feeling you pressed firmly skin on skin, waves crashing over us. I love it when you fall asleep before me so I can listen to your breathing lengthen in the relaxing state of trust with the ocean winds singing. Once I couldn't fall asleep curled next to other people, but next to you I drift on the raft of peaceful trust. If love is an ocean, then let me be the oceanographer. Let me map this enticing mystery of connection. If love is an ocean, let me discover all the species of unknown fish. Let me learn their ways and study them. If love is an ocean, then let me live only on the ship that sails to you. Let it be a submarine to bask in the deep waves. If love is an ocean, let me be the moon, pulling you closer to the firm ground of honesty. If love is an ocean, let me drift on this raft forever through every storm, every wave, every clear day. Let us drift forever on this raft. Let us see where it takes us. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Before you started the third one, I wanted to talk about the second one and how much I loved it. But then in the third one, you mentioned something about the sleep next to people and then finding someone you're comfortable sleeping next to. I'm in exactly the same position. I used to hate being like any skin contact during but now I'm like, oh yeah. And it's like a revelation when you're actually finally comfortable sleeping next to someone. So yeah, I felt that one. That was fantastic. Oh my God, that was the cutest thing. Thank you. Okay, so next up, and I really hope I'm pronouncing this right. One, to be respectful, and two, because if I am pronouncing it right, it's the prettiest second name I've ever heard in my life. Next up, we have Laurie DeRosier. I really hope that's how it's supposed to be said.
Oh, great. I'm right here. Hi, everybody.
Did I get that right?
Yes, it's close enough. It's DeRosier if you're French. And
oh, yeah, that's
since
even
I
better.
live in Massachusetts, most people say DeRosier. So hi. God, what an amazing this is almost 4 hours, 3.5 hours it has been. I've been here since the beginning, just loving it, loving meeting feel like I've met everybody. This is just an extraordinary day. Anyway, I'm going to read two shorter poems. One is from my new book, From Salmon. Some of us are salmon poets, Keeping Planes in the Air. And it's called My Name is Light. And it was written after I went to a vigil for the Orlando shooting at Pulse. Light, light. My name is Light, Lenora, the one my parents gave but never called me. From the Arabic nur, meaning light. My candle, one of the first ones lit. I wander, find myself lighting candles, looking in each person's eyes. Do you need some light? I asked, gay and lesbian, bi and trans, queer of all colors, shoulder to shoulder, listening and waving, raising fists and candles. Light has to be our future. No more violence, no more hate. Has to, because if it is not, our lights, our pulse, our names, the ones our parents gave us, the ones we call ourselves, will become extinguished. And this one's from a chapbook that came out last year called Typing with E. E. Cummings. All the poems are in some way after Cummings, either first line or the form of his work. I had a great time writing these. And this is to a partner of mine who lives very far away, and I don't get to see her very often. Somewhere I have never traveled gladly beyond. Somewhere I have never traveled gladly beyond common experience, a silent blip. Your frailest reach is what encloses me, for we can barely touch. We are too far. Your text or slightest look will easily unclose me. Though we are closed inside our phones, our fingers open slowly, panel by panel, as windows open, swiping mysterious screens, our first replay, or if your wish is to close the app of me, my life will shut very suddenly, quietly, as when the synapse of this drive imagines snow everywhere, our screens fogging. Nothing which we know in this world is equal to the power of turned on and tuned in fragility, which compels me with its color and texture, rendering death, or is it just breath needing reboot? I do not know what it is about you that turns me on and opens. Only something in my circuits understands the voice of your touch is deeper than all languages. No one, not even the spring rain, has your touch. Thank you. So that was fun. This has just been so much fun. Thank you very much, Andy, for doing this, and to Sandy and Beth for the whole rest of the day.
That was incredible. I loved that. Thank you so much. So up next, we have someone who is close to me, not only geographically, but also personally. I've only been doing poetry since July last year, and they've been nothing but supportive. They've given me opportunity after opportunity, and it's been so appreciated. And yeah, they're incredible. So yeah, it's a pleasure to introduce Mandy Maxwell.
Ah, thank you, Andy. That's lovely. Thank you. Thanks everyone for organising this. It's utterly amazing. I'm so impressed that you've been going for so many hours. That's absolutely incredible. It's great. Do I sound all right to everyone?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So for Pride Month, happy Pride, everyone. Yeah, I hope you're having a really, really good time. I'm currently in Northumberland, which Andy said is close to him in the UK. Originally from Scotland. And Andy, is it okay if I do two sneaky poems? Yeah, oh, thank you. Okay, so this one is called What's in a Name? The Lord Hilton, 5th Baron and Peer, has a bee in his bonnet that's questionably queer, in a state of outrage with a flea in his ear, that a small but extremely vocal minority have come out by their own authority without consideration or authorization from the House of Lords, and they've stolen a word. I regret enormously, Hilton goes on to exclaim, that this fine old English word has been claimed and defamed by a small but extremely vocal minority who have, by their own authority, stolen a word. Now, I hear the word gay, and I think of kids today who use this word so negatively with connotations of suppression, confusion, repression, dark emotions, depression. And it's in almost everything they say. I hear that delightful word, and I agree with Hilton. Yes, it has lost its carefree meaning. Got the wrong trainers on? That's so gay. You listen to Justin Bieber? Like, that's so gay. You laughed at the wrong joke in school today? That's so gay. Your parents split up? That's gay. You never tried cannabis? Oh, that's so gay. You've never been smashed? Like, that's so gay. Wait, what? You're still a virgin? That's gay. So, Lord Hilton, what's that you claim? The LGBT community, we wanted this name. You said we stole it for our own ends, but there's, no pun intended there, friend. I'm just showing that we can make fun of ourselves. Can you? So if you're taking back the word gay, you can have these too. Fag, freak, queer, poof, lesbo, homo, tranny, dyke. Okay, so I'm going to do another one, and I'll just give a little bit of an explanation before I do it. I have, my wife and I have a 5-year-old daughter, and we have thought about a lot of ways of how to explain that she's got 2 mummies and not a dad, and it's not even been an issue. It's, you know, I live in a really supportive part of England and stuff, and it's fantastic. But we did, you know, kind of stress about it a little bit to start off with and things like that. So this one is called, I better explain what the term is, you'll probably get it anyway. It's called Bobos. Bobos? Yeah? Okay, so we Googled it. We asked our friends. We read the text they'd recommend. The other mother, mum and more mum, and mummy's roommate. We poked the global hive mind. We logged on with bloggers. We hashtagged, we twittered, we chatted in chat rooms to strangers in living rooms. We posted on forums. We joined groups. We made lists. We categorized humour, biology, factual, YouTube, Wikipedia, fiction, bestsellers, soap opera script, how other people might explain it, teachers, other parents, other kids, and how we would want other people to explain it. Finally, interpretive dance. And so, my wife and child sound asleep, I slithered from my sheets. A burglar in my own home, I planned the theft of time alone in the tub. But fate and Mother Nature intervened, interrupted by my daughter's screams. Damn that bathroom's broken lock. I was naked but for slipper socks. Bobos, she cried, 10 miles of teeth, truck headlight eyes, in sheer disbelief we were both mesmerised. Bobos, it echoed, her squeals full of questions. I was caught in the act of simply undressing. My boobs became beacons of revelatory light. They were perk in the moment. They too had a fright. And so the truth was uncovered, like Grail for Galahad, how my daughter discovered she has 2 mums, not a dad. Thank you for listening. Thank you very much, and thank you everyone who's organised this. It's fantastic. Cheers, Andy.
Oh, thanks, Mandy. I've never heard that second one. That was fantastic. So up next, we have Tia Hudson. Or do we? Wait, okay, I can't see them in the chat. I could be wrong, but I can't see them. So we're going to move on to Gemma Paxton Higgins, who I can see.
Hello. Hello? Is
There
this
we
on?
go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. First of all, I wanted to say thank you to the hosts and the organizers and everyone else. A short introduction for this. I have been going through a lot recently, not just with COVID and not just with the resurgence in the civil rights movement, but with some other personal things as well. And I haven't been able to write at all, honestly, since probably college. And then this poem came to me, and so here we go. The first word, spoken out loud to an empty room, not motion nor stillness, the letters each hold a world within them. And the weight of eternity is focused on the use, the context, the etymology. I find myself in that word. I find comfort and disorientation. Within a word, there is our whole life, a single moment, a passing flicker of all of eternity. Your voice once said this word. It echoed through history and found its way to this time beyond time when our string somehow came unraveled. The word repeats itself, infinity in my mind, the silence filled with the volume of it, crashing waves of liquid thunder tearing me from my sanctuary. Your voice and my tongue dancing through the word, the shape of our bodies passing through the spaces between the letters, an emptiness, carving my corpse into the shape of the word itself, but the first word, not the last. First or last, all our words, the entire collection of human words ever spoken, and all the words that are unspoken are living inside this one, which lives inside me. I'm driven to madness by the word, my soundless four-syllable jailer, a chain to replace the one you took from my neck, a collar that no longer holds safety. Last words sting the least. It's the first ones that leave the last impression, the great divide between first and last construction of each sentence, deconstructing my thoughts, my mind, helpless to the waters of your driest words. This word without meaning carries all the weight of definition of humanity within it. This word speaks volumes, endless reverberations of sacred chanting and pledges of loyalty and love and silent screaming contradicting itself within my ears. Is it not the sound of the word, the very thing I crave to hear? Your heart to mine, singing sweetly the word that ends my own breathing? I stand in the darkness, too weak to move, dancing to the rhythm of your last word, endlessly replaying nothing into the void where my ears once were. I dissolve at the mercy of the word, the first and the last eerily similar. Each part containing a whole conversation, a fist, a smile, my bruises, your kisses, tears and hugs, laughter and laughter and laughter that we shared. I have one more relatively short piece. It's probably the gayest thing I've ever written. Resonance. Queer and I have a relationship, a resonation in the sense of resonance, if that makes sense. Finding a found familiarity in my form formerly focused on furnishing fallacy, a family of ununderstanding, misdiagnosed religious sedimentations, a body of blood and connections through superficial biology, that which lacks timber, rather than the official efficient following of trauma and coefficiently conflicted. Then follows the following of my cardiovascular fluids queerness finds solidarity in the arms of family with strange names and stranger faces. Blood being the ink of the body, staining and beautiful if used the right way, almost forever, leaving generations of suffering soaked into the carpet. Ink being the blood of the soul, leaking onto scraps of paper, intricate details detailing the disenchantment of a queer life. The way the queer attracts the queer, it shields the oddity, and it encourages the absurdity, it grows together symbiotically. Why then is our queer a secret? Perhaps it exists in a state that is found too strange for these strangers with similar blood.
I love that. The alliteration in that one was just incredible. That was, oh, I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Up next, we have J.D. Lovelust, which is another fantastic name. But also I can't see them in the group. So that sucks. Quickly check the chat. Nope, we've got nothing in there. So let's have another look in the group, see who we can get. We have Cara Pernicano, and I hope I've pronounced that correctly. If I haven't, please correct me.
Hi.
Yay!
Oh,
Great to be here. Gosh, wow. Everyone has been so amazing. Thank you to all our readers and for the invite. Just learning about this yesterday. So these are my clear glasses from Italy, actually, and some of my things. So I'm going to read a piece that's hybrid. I don't really know what you call it. Now I make comics. This kind of goes with it. I made the picture a couple years back, and gosh, I never really know what to read, like what of my work feels the most queer. And I was thinking of, and continue to think of, all my loves. But I actually would like to read this piece in tribute to my grandmother, who recently passed. I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago now. So here goes. Put on your best romp, some kind of loose, baggy button down, and your best loafers, plus your favorite kind of fashion statement, in honor of my grandmother Lois. I'm sure she'd love your scarves and bow ties too. She was spunky and kind. Have a super day, as she would say. I would if I could, but it's another stay-at-home day, so no reason to go out, and I'm feeling so low already, now the weight, the loss of her. She liked the long strands of beads, plus watches and pins. She loved word puzzles. She saved all my drawings. She faithfully sent me birthday cards every year on end, unashamed to just sign her name, nothing holding her back from sharing her sentiments, even through hard days. She loved cats. Her favorite color was purple. She enjoyed chilly days. She was a real champion. A hard and fast feminist. She knew how it felt to be human. She had quite the sense of humor, talking of so-and-so persons. She was bold, she was fearless, and yet she was often to herself. She knew the value of rest, something I knew once as a kid and have totally lost all sense of. One of the last lines I remember her sharing with me was how we all will grow old and not need to be on the web ever. And I laughed even then, wondering whether me, myself, all millennials glued to our phones, stuck in a generation push for digital presence, will we ever reach that point someday in life where we shut it all off? No more social media breaks. The screen goes dark for good. A computer overloaded, timing out, crashing is the closest picture my brain has ever come to feeling on the edge of death. She claimed to never have Googled anything, even as her house is left with such an array of collected objects. I wish I could sort through it like an archive, and I fear there are tags of memory I will never be able to write. She was really a good old soul, like no other, a true old sport. How I wish my grandfather too, who must have fallen for that part of her, could laugh again. I really wish she could have met all of you and you could have met her. Alas, the world does not run on my clock, and love is not so easily found, even as the ups and downs like menstrual flows are so routine and won't miss a beat. She did not die of corona, but I mourn from afar, a queer bird in the city, practically in corona myself, the virus's uncanny epicenter, sending all my love. I will always be Grammys, 4 with and 2 Grammy. We were in many ways 2 peas in a pod, states far apart. Grammy, did you know? I want to believe you knew. You knew I was queer. Did you know such feelings too? You looked so much like we are quirky, we are smart, we are witty. She was really a genius, if I ever knew one. I just wish I could have told you she would have laughed, she would have chuckled, she would have been so proud. I'll always be Grammys, even then, as she always called me, Grammy's little rebel. Thank you.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Thank you.
When you introduced yourself, did you mention something about comics that you were doing?
Yes, yeah, I
Is
have
that all
started.
your own work?
Yes, so this I drew and painted. This one is more like a collage. I did this one a couple years ago, one of the special moments I had with Grammy. And it says she didn't know I was taking her picture, Grammy's little rebel. So I draw from photographs I take.
Yeah.
Piece them together.
Oh, that's incredible. If you like, drop any social media you have in the chat.
Sure. Yes.
Because I would love to see more of that, if that's possible.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. This has been lovely.
Thank you. That was, I love that.
Oh, thank you.
I'm just going to check the participants to make sure the next people are here. Yes, they are. Up next, we have Anne Tweedy. Oh. Oh.
Sorry. I just want to thank Sandy and Elizabeth. And Andy, this is a wonderful event. And I also want to call out that I represent the B in LGBT, since we often get lost in the acronym and aren't as visible. So I'll read a couple poems. The first one's quite short. It's called Outing, and this is from my Headmistress Press book, The Body's Alphabet. Outing. It has become almost religious. 2 or 3 times each week, I drive an hour to see women pretend they are men. Their breasts have been wound and flattened, their hair cut short. They are equipped with penises of duct tape and sock. In cowboy hats and jeans, white shirts and ties, they lip sync in an alphabet only the body can interpret. And what of the body, who for 30 years staked her allegiance in one nation while admitting to break its lesser edicts about sex and love? Who and how many? Imagine that self-proclaimed outlaw dreaming a life of prescribed normalcy. I see myself now for 6 months caught between planets, loving a man I mean to spend my days with, and a woman who dances on stage for anyone who can afford cover. Her repertoire of male voices, from pop to country, thrills because of an underlying forgery. Do you think I could write myself back into the hewn dimensions of any single space? Home is the structure you build when nowhere else will have you. And this second one, thank you. The second one is called Kilter. When the days line up flat one after another ahead of me, and I feel like a traveling salesman whose territory is the wide, plowed, sectioned off Midwest, contiguous squares and rectangles chopped into rows and columns, as orderly as abacuses, never off kilter for even a minute. Thinking of your body saves me. I think of how we fit together, your slopes and my angles, irregular, messy perfection. I think of your oblong breasts, the left smaller than the right, how your resistant nipples harden finely between my rubbing fingers or against the insistent beat of my tongue. Taut moments when my body understands rhythm and teases and trains your pleasure to the song that we're writing together. I think of the faint, acrid smell of your smooth, slightly tan skin, the smell that clings to the strands of your armpit hair, strongest when I rest my head half against your large upper arm and half against your chest, of how resting there both stirs me and puts me at ease, sensations the female body alone can synchronize. I think of the way, sitting up, you examine my body lying on the bed, marveled by my collarbone, or the new leaves of shoulder muscle, or the jut of my pelvis, like the current scoured stone you palmed before we met. And I remember how your eyes drink me with the slow lap of an animal accustomed to abundance. Your eyes that look and still each morning see me new, and then all the coming hours begin to breathe that promise too. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. That was incredible. The line, I think I might misquote it. I don't want to. Your eyes drink me. That was, oh, I love that. I'm a sucker
Thank
for
you so
eyes. But that was, oh. So up next, we have two performers left. So our penultimate performer is Don Krieger.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sandy and Beth and Andy and everyone. Locked down 3 times. Flashing lights across the street and down at the ball field and in the bank parking lot the other way. Men in Black was on TV, the news flash, armed robbers still loose. I stepped outside, then changed my mind. The cops can't see my face in the dark. 2 minutes after the shooting ended, I left work to go home. They stopped me at the door. Western Psych is right across the street. Police were everywhere. Can you keep me in? I asked. No, he said, and I was on my way to the car, but the parking lot was locked down too. 3 last year on Shabbos, Robert Bowers killed 11, then surrendered. We had a class at the library, hours later and miles away. Would they have canceled though, had it been a drive-by at a playground? Anyway, Bowers goes on trial this fall. The Glass House. Albert Shafran, Staff Sergeant, finding of death, Christmas Day, 1945. Acorns grew everywhere out of the lawn, huge oaks overspreading. My Lil wanted to live there, under her grandmother's roof. She recognized the mantel, a black glass block 3 inches thick, 6 feet long. Hidden in the wall behind it, I found a folded notebook, pitted with coal dust, penciled in a child's hand, Bumi's diary. She never knew Bumi, her grandmother's brother. He refused the date they made for him. He never attended his prom. He died overseas after the war. He was strange. I found him for her, A missing airplane crash report showed him penciled into the crew list on Christmas, 1944. The pilot was Marion Unruh, commander of the 5th Bombardment Group, taken prisoner to Japan and returned to a good life at the end of the war with a rifle surrendered by the prison commander. 9 others made it to shore but died there. Bumi never made it out of the plane. He was listed missing. By Public Law 490, his death certificate was dated a year later. It was strange, though, why they were never told and why they never asked.
Thank you so much, Don. Also, thank you, because without you, this wouldn't be possible tonight. So that is, it's appreciated. Thank you so much. So our final act today, depending on where you are, purposely saved till last. I can't thank them enough for the opportunity to be a part of this, for allowing. I've performed a couple of times now for Cultivating Voices the last couple of months on Facebook. It's such an incredible community. This event's been incredible. The fact that we're raising money for various charities is incredible. I made a donation under the name Cultivating Voices earlier to a local charity to me called Northern Pride. It's one of the charities that we're trying to raise money for. Honestly, such an incredible human. The mastermind behind everything that is Cultivating Voices. Please give it up for Sandy, you know.
Oh, thank you, Andy. Thanks. First of all, I want to take my hat off to everybody. I'm just very moved by the whole day, and I'm exhausted by the whole day also. But I came out very late, and I got it. Well, for me, late. I wish it had been earlier. And to be able to hear all the stories and be reminded of why it's so important to lift our voices, speak our truth, enter into each of our humanities in all its fullness. It's a true gift to be reminded of that. And every single person today shared just a deep, deep piece of themselves. And I definitely do not take that lightly. And I certainly don't take your time lightly. I want to thank again, before I read my poem, I want to just lift all the featured readers into the room again. I won't say everyone's name, but I want to thank them. I want to thank Tara Hardy, Riley T. McCutcheon, who helped bring the writers together with me. I want to thank Don Krieger, and I don't relish following you, Don, today. It's been extraordinary to get to know you in these past few weeks since the pandemic. I didn't know most of you since before 14 weeks ago, and I'm deeply moved to consider you part of my family. And who would have ever thought that this screen that I mostly despise would bring so many would bring me so many gifts every single week. And yeah, and of course I love my sister. I don't think our parents are with us today, but My sister's been my champion, and I appreciate that. And I'm sure I'm forgetting some folks, and let me thank all of you in the open mic who stuck with us. The open mic is the life breath of poetry, the open mic itself, and of community. So it seems appropriate to end with that today. And I'm going to read a poem that, frankly, I wish I'd never had to write. And by glory, it's a poem that is connected to the Pulse nightclub shootings. I wanted to bring those souls to our consciousness today. And it is not in my book that I'll show you, Votes for Women, from Salmon Poetry. But the themes of Votes for Women are silence, disaster, desire, and hope. And I believe that this poem also embodies those themes. As I said, it's a poem I wish I'd never had to write. It's a sestina, and I'll give a little bit of a trigger warning that it does take us into the nightclub in Orlando on that very fateful morning of June 12th, 2016. This is called Requiem for Orlando. I am struggling now to comprehend my pulse, how I still have one, after all the opportunities I've had to die by my own hands, with too many drinks downed in bars, then driving while I waited to become my uncloseted self. And now I have nothing to do but pulse with crackling rage, while I raise an empty glass, mourning the fact that you, Orlando, lost so many hearts, lips, and hands, all wanting to give back something to the other hearts that beat like hell on that dance floor before the clock struck 1. You, alive, you raising your drinks to the glassy air, you raising your brown Orlando hands to the heavens in the heat of your last night at Pulse. And of course, you don't know this. Don't know that death is waiting around the corner like a drunk in a car as you wait for last call. Your early morning heart drums faster to keep perfect time with its perfect pulse as it moves closer to each body on the dance floor, to the one you will leave this world with tonight, with your hands locked tight, pressing each other's calloused palms, your glassy eyes looking forward to the next time you raise them like a glass. Clutch them in the grace of everything that the body waits to release when it releases itself from the tenuous grip of hands in the act. And doesn't your Orlando always resemble the heart? Restless, resilient, eager to demonstrate how it is one with the divine, how it yearns to live from within its own pulse. And now I am pondering the woman who sat next to me, our pulses quickening on my porch steps before we kissed, then shuffled our hearts back into the deck to hide in the shadows of the one true thing I know I have been waiting to discover with another. And now all the crushed drinking glasses resemble diamonds on the dance floor, and a pair of smeared sunglasses rests on the floor of the massacre's aftermath, inside and outside of Pulse. Orlando, the world will wake up Sunday morning with news of your murdered hearts. And in the 5th stanza, I've dropped a line in shock. My hands go cold from grief. I don't know if I can spare to wait for the one who could be the one, while everyone in Orlando is one dance step away from their hearts shattering like blown glass floats that hands once held precious, waiting for love to pulse. Yes, pulse. And still, I have one. Thank you, everyone, for listening to a poem. As I said, I wish I really had never had to write. Some of our best work comes from those very, very deep, 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 dark places of humanity. Andy, why don't you close us out for the day?
Oh, I would, but I might actually have something. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Bear with me. I've got one. I can do this one. This isn't the one I was wanting to find. Although I can jump over and I can do it from my phone. You'll still be able to see my face. So if you just bear with me, I'll try and find it.
You said
Definitely
bear.
on here.
You should put me on
Well,
the screen for a second.
Okay.
For 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Oh, yes. Oh, what do I need to do?
2 seconds.
Are you coming on screen?
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Beth has in front of her, or excuse me, Panda Bear has in front of them a vintage Snoopy Peanuts calendar from 1970. We're commemorating the 50th anniversary of the Pride Parade, June 28th, 1970. Thank you, Panda Bear.
That's amazing.
Hey, everyone, for this last poem, and there's the baton, the parade baton. Woo! How about you can feel free to unmute yourselves for our last poem. Andy, you've got it?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Is it okay if folks unmute themselves for this last one?
Yeah, go for it.
Great.
Just make sure you can. Yep, you can see me. Cool. Yeah, so I'm going to be reading this off my phone. This night's been incredible. In fact, I'll close everything out after it. I think I mentioned earlier on that I have a new book coming out. I actually got word that it's going to be next month that it comes out. And okay, so it's called Old Wounds, New Skin, and the hilarious part about this poem is it shares the same name as that collection, but I wrote it after, so it isn't actually in there as it stands. So I have messaged Analog Submission and said, can I, because I also want to add Slouch to it as well, the poem I read with Ken earlier on, because I want, like I said, I said I wanted to represent the book, to represent where I am now rather than where I was a couple of months ago. So yes, this is Old Wounds, New Skin, and I will have to scroll through it as I'm going. It's a new outfit, or a new style, or a new haircut. It's to be daring again. It's to feel liberated, to find yourself, by yourself, for yourself. It's new ink or a new hobby. It's a new life, a fresh start, and a whole new level of fuck it. This is my life and I'm going to live it by my rules. It's putting yourself first. It's realizing that you can actually put yourself first. It's growth. It's change. It's looking to the future and shedding the weight of the past. It's learning to cover old wounds in new skin. Thank you.
Nice
No, thanks, Wendy.
Yay.
Oh my gosh. And that was a perfect poem for us to end on today. Thank you, Andy Taylor, for shepherding our open mic from the UK. It's getting quite late there now.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a bit. Yeah. Good
It's getting
point.
hot in here.
Don and Beth and all of you for staying with us for the open mic. As I said, the open mic is the life breath of poetry in community. And I want to give a very special invitation to each of you. You know, we had a parade of features and then we had the open mic to allow as many voices in as we could. But we're together every Sunday and you're welcome to sign up.
Hi, Daddy.
Welcome. Yeah.
Shout out to
Okay.
Mommy and Daddy.